Hey, because we're not called that anymore, so I'm gonna cut it right there. Hi, it is us. It is FKA Spoopy Boys.
What's up, everybody? How's everyone living?
Living. It's another
We're
day above
vertical over
ground.
here.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
another day outside the vault. So tonight we're going to be chit chatting about Fallout. And we have three people that weigh. We have three people. I'm going to start this over again. That know than I do. I did finish the television show with my lovely wife, who very much enjoyed it, and I very much enjoyed it. So I think that kind of spurred this on. And I have had the fortune of playing some Fallout 76 as well as watching Fallout previously with a friend of ours who would play it and then be like, "You want to watch me play Fallout?" And I'd be like, "I guess." So relationships are weird. So yeah. I guess everyone introduce yourselves. Colin, it's your deal. I didn't mean to step on your toe.
No, you're all right. Hi, everybody. It's me again. You know me if you watch this show. If you haven't, hi. I guess I should introduce myself. Creepin' Colin.
You should introduce the host.
And Creepin' is my game, but not in a bad way.
We should do an intro like a Tonight Show thing, and then I can just intro you since I am basically your Andy Richter.
No, you'd need to be my McMahon.
Ed McMahon.
Oh, Ed McMahon.
Ed McMahon. Yeah, because Andy just sat on the couch, but Ed was.
I kind of just want to sit on the couch, Colin.
He's like, wait, I don't want this to be work. What the hell?
Yeah.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah.
You are correct.
That guy was amazing.
Gary.
Yeah. We've got one of the Garys apparently escaped. Everybody, so
Gary.
we're lucky.
Which, from what I know about Fallout, that is not a good thing.
No,
Very
No,
much
Gary's
not a
not
good
nice.
thing.
no, the Gary Vault is very scary.
Yes, and I think a perfect example of like how Fallout weaves kind of morbid humor and bizarre like futuristic 50s with just straight up horror, straight up just like horror.
Yeah,
No, I am Draz, Richard. Yeah, I've played a lot of Fallout.
yeah.
And what's up? I'm Shan. They, them pronouns. I'm here for the girls, the gays, and the days, and the allies. And I love me some Fallout. I have played a good chunk of Fallout. I don't know if we should be proud of this, but we were 76er day one. We were playing
Hey.
76. You remember when the game didn't have human NPCs and it was all robots. But yeah,
That's right.
been a big Fallout fan for a long time and loved the show, loved the series, loved everything they did with it. Why they make that ghoul so hot though?
I mean, it's
It's real
Walton
weird.
Goggins. What are you gonna do?
But they made him sexy. Why'd they make
Have
him
you-
so hot?
Have you watched Justified?
Yes, but why though?
There's
I mean,
some
like
sexy ghouls in New Vegas.
there are some
If you're
sexy
on
ghouls in New
Freeside.
Vegas. Listen, but he's bordering on Hancock territory, okay? He's bordering on Hancock territory, and that's saying something. Cause like, that is the kind of zombie that's like, now hear me out.
Hancock's cool.
Hancock's
Raul.
great.
Raul's
Yeah.
great. He was
Raul
more
the
of a
Ghoul?
personality winning
Raul
out
the
over
Ghoul.
looks kind of ghoul, but Raul the Ghoul was I never realized that it was Raul the Ghoul.
Again, I think that's where they've weaved some humor in and just been like, if they get it, they get it.
Yeah. No, the Fallout's crazy good. So where should we start? Do we want to start with the show or should we start with the games?
Let's just start with the first game. The very first two games are different than what.
Very different. Very different. I didn't play them until like after Fallout 3 was my first experience like playing. I was aware of Fallout 1 and 2, but by then I wasn't much of a PC guy. I was more on the console end of things. So those kind of passed me by, but I was always aware of like the pedigree they had, and they always looked awesome. But yeah, Fallout 1 I have played it since. Yeah, and it's very good.
And see, that's the thing. I went backwards to that game because I started playing games that were basically a homage to that game.
There's a lot,
like
Wasteland,
Death Trash, and a couple of Wasteland actually predates Fallout.
Yeah,
Wasteland 2, 3 though, like
Death Trash kind of. I'm trying. There's a particular one I can't even recall what it was that I was playing, and I was like, had read someone talking about how this is an homage to Fallout. It's like it's a kind of a space station version of Fallout, which name is going to escape me right now. But yeah, I played a little bit of Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. I have not gone back to them, which I probably should.
They hold up.
Yeah, I think it's easy for games like that to hold up. I really do. I think that their
animations are adorable.
Yeah, it's all about the gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't have anything to do with like, oh, look at my cool graphics. It's like, oh, this is just gameplay.
Yeah. I would even say they I don't know if everyone else feels the same way. Maybe kind of darker stories in the first two. I'd say, yeah. The second one has very fun. Is that the one where you? Is that the one with the? Well, I don't know. Spoiler alert for like what 30-year-old game, 20-year-old game.
I was gonna say it's been out.
Sorry,
forever,
everyone.
so.
Don't ruin it for someone.
But is it the second one where they do the whole time twist with it, where you go back to cause the events that?
Yeah, I think so. If I remember correctly, I think that's correct.
Yeah,
I would not be surprised if the team that worked on that did not work on Planescape Torment as well.
Sorry, Spike. I'm so sorry, Spike. Spike has
because that's the game I always think of that feels very, very similar in
Planescape.
Torment.
Yeah.
It feels very similar in kind of the tone, where it's like it's a weird world full of cool stuff. And by the way, you start the game dead. You wake up from being dead, and you have a little floating skull buddy who guides you around.
Not unlike New Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, it really it feels like those games have some type of connective tissue. So I don't know if similar people worked on them or not, but I would not at all be surprised.
So here's some fun facts for you.
Ooh.
Fallout, a post-nuclear role-play game, was developed by Interplay on September 30th, 1997.
Yeah.
The game was initially intended to use Steve Jackson's GURPS system.
Oh my God.
I remember hearing that, yeah.
But
that's amazing because if you played GURPS.
I've played GURPS Supers.
I'm not a huge fan of GURPS, and I'm not a huge fan of, what was the other one that was always out at that time where it was
Palladium?
Yeah, I think it was Palladium. It was like, here's the kitchen sink in this setting. Everything is on the table. And it was like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
I think Palladium did the Robotech game too.
I remember the first time I went and saw like a physical like GURPS like manual. It's just like, holy shit. Like, what am I about to get into? This is huge.
It was like I learned of Palladium how I wasn't going to like Palladium when the first time I played Robotech, and the first
it wasn't Palladium, it was Rifts.
Rifts was the awful one.
Rifts is the other one.
GURPS,
yes.
GURPS wasn't terrible. It's Rifts that
GURPS is not terrible. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. But
Rifts was the one that made me want to rip my fucking hair out.
I mean, GURPS, I think I'm pretty sure the reason we bought GURPS books was just because they were so full of lore and history that we could easily use them as reference guides for other games.
It's kind of
because I remember I had like the GURPS like ancient Egypt books because they were just nice. It's because I was playing a follower of Set in Vampire. So it would like having the GURPS Egypt books had like really easy history references for me without having to pull out like a whole freaking like history book.
I really would like to go back and play Vampire because it's a game I've never really got a chance to play. I poorly ran it for like 6 months. But I really liked those World of Darkness settings.
I still have my Werewolf, the Apocalypse handbook, man.
And I played Aberrant and I played Adventure, which were White Wolf's weird pseudo superhero games.
Mm-hmm.
I never gotten those.
Adventure was like the pulp version. They had like Trinity came out first, and it was like the far sci-fi, and it was all you went backwards in setting.
Okay.
So Trinity occurred because of Aberrant, and Aberrant was like basically like Kingdom Come, but Superman never came back. It was like companies were hiring like private militaries full of superheroes.
So just like Magogs all over the place.
Yeah, it was like superheroes were like
It's
pseudo
awful.
celebrities. There was a superhero wrestling supplement.
Oh, I like that.
That had like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Ric Flair in it. There was all this weird stuff. There wasn't really superheroes anymore. They all were somehow associated with some type of either corporate entity or some political entity. And then it basically at the end, they start to mutate further, and the human race has to run them off the earth because they're going to kill everyone. So they make them flee out into space, and Trinity is like 60 years later, and they come back. And they are not even remotely human anymore. And then Adventure is like the pulp version of that. That's where everything kind of starts. And I loved Adventure. Adventure is great. But we just basically ported Adventure and Call of Cthulhu together so we could play Pulp Cthulhu, which was great. Because, man, I loved Call of Cthulhu, but I hated dying and going crazy every other episode. But I want to punch the Shoggoth. Punching Shoggoths was the name of my Darkest Outside Thickets cover band. Anyway, I got us way off track. I apologize.
I was like, I had a moment where I'm like, how did we get here? Like, where, like, even my ADHD brain had a hard time following that one. I'm like, how did we wind up here?
I was like, how am I going to start talking about Fallout 1 again?
So Fallout!
As Spike is so elegantly quoted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God. That's too funny. I feel like most people kind of like cut their teeth on the series with 3 though. Back in the day, depending on
I feel like that's the one that made the biggest impact, like
I think
overall.
Well, it was the one that hit the consoles.
Yeah.
It was hit the consoles first.
Quick question. Did anyone play Brotherhood of Steel besides me?
Oh, was that the
PlayStation like top down co-op like smash and grab game?
No, I've seen many a video about it, but
I played the hell out of that because I liked those games on PlayStation 2. I loved those kind of. That's something I enjoy. Is like, hey, let's get 3 or 4 people together and let's just go in.
I
raid.
Yeah, like Gauntlet style and stuff like that. I love those games.
There was like Champions of Nerath or something like that. There was a bunch of those games that all used the same engine, and I think they thought like, oh, let's get a little. Hey, let's get a little bit of that money. Let's use this IP and get a little money. And I guess people hated it.
It's not looked upon favorably. Yeah.
Fair. So Fallout 3, is this where Shane and Richard, is this where you guys kind of jumped in?
Yes, that was my first Fallout game, was Fallout 3.
Did either of you go back to 1 and 2?
I own them. I have not yet played them though.
Not me. I've watched a lot of like Let's Plays with the series. That's kind of like, here's my thing. My interest in games has always kind of flitted. Like, it's funny, when Fallout 3 came out, I hated games like that. I loved to watch people play games like that. But this was in a time when like Let's Plays were just kind of starting to become a thing on the internet. Like, YouTube was new at the time. Like the concept of like Let's Plays, like Markiplier was still fresh, and you know what I mean? Like it was kind of a new era. So like I used to literally just sit on the couch with tea and like watch Richard play for hours. Hours. I watched
Final Fantasy VIII,
Dead Space. When that came out, I watched you play that. I watched BioShock. Like, that was how it's kind of funny because like I hated playing those games because I was a console player and I wasn't like a high skill console player at the time. So FPSs were very difficult for me. And then I got into Halo and I realized, oh, these can actually be kind of fun. Because Halo 3 was just way too fun to put down. And then like Reach pulled me in and I was because I was super into the Halo lore. Like I read the books and shit. And then
it's another interesting like setting. Too bad the TV show.
Oh no, don't. We're not gonna start that because you're gonna watch me go on a fucking tangent.
Question. Little question. Halo TV show or Twisted Metal TV show?
Twisted
I
Metal
haven't watched Twisted Metal yet, but Twisted Metal TV
I've
show
only
because
seen
Halo
one
TV
episode, and it was way better than the entire season of Halo.
I wanted to like the Halo TV show, but they like, how do you ruin the flood? How do you ruin the fucking flood? Anyway, back on track. But I used to watch Richard play all the time, and then I tried to play Fallout 3. I went back and tried to play it at one point before I was a big like FPS player. And it scared the shit out of me. I couldn't do it. I had just playing the game gave me anxiety. And this was like before I was medicated for anxiety. Maybe that's if you have a hard time with FPSs and games that make you nervous, folks, talk to your doctor and see if maybe you have anxiety disorder. This is just not medical advice or an opinion, just for fun. But I'm just saying, like, that really changed shit for me. And now I'm like, ooh, now I want to go back and I want to like replay everything. I want to go back to 3 and replay. And
you should. I mean, I really think like sometimes you can go back to those games. Like I can always go back. Well, Stardew I can just go back to no matter what. But I have found I'm getting ready to start another run on Graveyard Keeper, which is the same thing. It's like I don't think I've ever finished that game, but I think I've started it, enjoyed it every single time. There's other games that like I like to go back to, like the Gold Box SSI D&D games, which you can get on Steam for like $2. I remember playing those games on my parents' shitty computer with dial-up internet. And they still, like story-wise, some of them hold up in a great fashion.
Wait, I'm sorry. I ADHD'd for a second. You're talking about the SSI Dungeons and Dragons games?
Yeah.
Like Pool of Radiance?
Yeah,
and...
they're all on Steam for like less than $5. I think I have all of them.
Yeah, I've got them on I have them wish listed right now.
Yeah.
I remember playing those.
Yeah, it's like those games hold up, and it's again not because of the graphics, it's just because the games are good. They're the fun, the core gameplay's fun and the story's good. So yeah, it's interesting though when we think about that way. And I think that's maybe, and I would ask as folks who played, 3, do you feel like the stories have gotten better, or have they gotten? I know that Colin, you said, and I think the first 2 games have really kind of dark stuff going on.
Yeah,
but I mean,
not
still
to say
really
that
good. There's humor.
I'd say the one thing I think Bethesda's done a really. They're great. I really like Bethesda games quite a bit across the board. The one thing I could maybe fault them on though is they have a slight tendency to recycle a little bit of their storytelling tropes. Like 3 and 4 very much have this like, I gotta go find this person, like, and it's like a father-son sort of thing, depending on who you're going with. I
read a meme that it was like Fallout 3. I have to find my mom.
I have to find my dad.
I have to find my dad. Fallout 4. I have to find my mom. Fallout TV show. I have to find my dad.
And then
Fallout 76. I have to find the Mothman. Like.
So they do have that, although like. I don't know. There's a really cool. I don't know, because then there's really cool things that they have done under the Bethesda stewardship. Like if you look at like Fallout 3 is this game that begins with your birth, and then New Vegas begins with your death, and like what is that like? There's really cool themes that they've applied. Overall, meanwhile, I'd say 1 and 2 are very more straightforward with what they're doing, and
I think
they're good games though.
I think Fallout 3 has a special place because it's the first Fallout game where you really get to choose if you're going to be a good guy or a bad guy. I mean, because I have done 3 playthroughs of Fallout 3. Where the first time I played through it, I was a super good person, giving water to beggars and doing all the hero stuff. The second played through Fallout, I nuked Megaton as soon as possible. Mainly because I wanted to kill Moira. And
I hate her so much.
Up later again.
I fucking hate her so much. Jesus Christ. If there was one NPC I could boot out of the Fallout franchise, it's Moira. I cannot handle her. I was so excited when they put out the additional DLC for that game because like it looked like they were going to finally fucking kill her stupid ass and she was still alive and I was so angry. I rage quit the room. I walked out. I threw things.
Did anyone watch Brothers Gate episode 1 yet? Which is the McElroys and their dad.
Not yet, no.
There's a tendency to kill all NPCs.
I'm fine with some NPCs. I just really hated her. Yeah, you should go do this thing for me because I need caps. Yeah, okay. No, do it yourself, bitch. Do it yourself. I hate you.
Who's worse, Moira or Marcy in Fallout 4?
Oh,
Moira,
hands down. Not even a contest. Not even a contest.
So let's quickly go through. What's your favorite thing about Fallout 3? Each of you.
3.
Like what would bring you back to the game immediately?
Little Lamplight.
I'm sorry, what?
Little Lamplight.
Little Lamplight?
It's my favorite place.
It's like the little kids. Is that where the little kids like took over? Yeah.
They're in a cave.
Yeah, I've watched hours of lore videos on Fallout.
Yeah.
But it's not something that always like my brain holds on to. I'll have it on in the background while I'm working.
Yeah. No, like Fallout outside of just like really cool iconic things like that, or like Harold and Bob's, things like that. Like I think what really brings me back, and I've gone back to Fallout 3 quite a few times. It's my first time, and I get to replay it again and again and again, which it's so fun. So yeah, it was my first taste of the world, and I can still find ways to replay it in new, interesting styles I haven't before. I can do encounters in different ways. So yeah, it's just that it's.
When you went backwards to 1 and 2, did it still feel like there was so much connective tissue between those? Beyond the fact that it's a post-apocalypse?
Oh God. It's so, just because the styles are so radically different. So it's like, how to describe it? I don't know. It's like, I still enjoyed them, but I mean, it was so different just because the settings are way different. You're all on the West Coast and everything, and so it's mostly just this crazy desert. So it's a little bit more barren than the Capital Wasteland and the Commonwealth, which I've really come to love, or even New Vegas. Even that surrounding area felt so much more lifelike than the first 2 games.
But there are things that are introduced in Fallout 1 and 2, though, that are, definitely things that they managed to remember for Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 and New Vegas, stuff like Mariposa military base.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of carryover and like a lot of lore of stuff that happened out there traverses over to the other games, and which is a cool thing about the game series is it's just each entry is like a snapshot in the timeline, and it just keeps continuing and continuing.
That's what I was going to actually ask too, as well. Does it feel like a cohesion? For Richard and Shan, over that time period from 3 all the way to 76, does it feel like a cohesive universe, or does it feel like chopped up, or does it feel like more like Mad Max movies, where it's like the setting is almost as important as Max, because Max kind of feels different every single movie?
Well, yeah, I mean, just going from 1 to 2 was a vast difference.
And George Miller's even said it's Mad Max.
It's not about the timeline,
Yeah, it's an anthology about just a name.
Yeah.
He's, it may not even be the same character. It's just somebody with that name.
I love George Miller just throwing a grenade into the cannon like that. He might not even be the same guy.
Yeah.
Have fun later.
So 76 really kind of brought out a lot of the hate, because people wanted a lot of things to hate on with 76 because it was so different, and it wasn't the game they wanted, because they wanted Fallout 3 multiplayer, basically, is what they wanted. And 76 was not that. But, so a lot of people started blaming that they were retconning their own story in 76, saying like, the FEV that was used to create super mutants, that was all done in California, but there's a story in 76 about FEV being developed also in Appalachia.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, do you really think they put all their baskets in one, all their eggs in one basket? No.
All their baskets in one vault?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure that they were running experiments. I mean, look at the vaults themselves. They were all different experiments.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we don't even know how many there were. I mean, publicly it's like, what, 122, but there might have been more. And we don't even know. Like, there might have been more.
And
there might be more.
Am I wrong? Is Harold and Bob, the guy with the tree grown out of him that creates the... Was he messed with a FEV, or was that a Gek that got him?
I think that was the Gek.
Okay. I couldn't keep it.
Yeah.
I feel like every game, it's interesting because I feel like there is a theming and a feel that is so uniquely Fallout. Like, the series did a beautiful job of capturing that. Down to the last details. Like, whoever was responsible for props and scenery work on the Fallout series, like, they deserve all the Emmys.
Yeah.
It was astonishing, the amount of detail. It was like every little thing was perfect. I felt like I was playing the game and like walking into rooms and walking into sceneries regardless of the game. So there's like a definite theme and vibe to it that carries over. So I would say there's like almost like a culture of Fallout where like the look and the feel and the music and
that retro future.
Yeah. So like you get that vibe of it. But what's interesting about it, and this is where I will say, and I am much more critical of Bethesda than you are, Colin. You're very kind. You are very kind, because like, while I deeply love Bethesda, I'm gonna always call Todrick on his bullshit. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I don't have to play your game,
when you were
Todd.
like, you were like, they have a tendency to repeat, and the back of my head I was like, everything.
Well, I didn't. Okay. I didn't know if everyone here was on board, so I didn't want to go too hard. But no.
I will go as hard as you want to. It's Bethesda. The bugs are like they're like a feature. They're a feature at this point. They're not the it is what it is.
Oh yeah, no, I had a whale of a time when Starfield came out, just like jumping under the map and stealing money out of people's. Thanks, Bethesda.
Correcting myself, FEV was the cause of Harold.
Okay. But what I find interesting about it is each game within that definitely has its own distinct vibe and feel. Like 4, you definitely get that like revolutionary, you know, you get like that vibe, that East Coast piece that like we've wanted to see. A lot of that has worked its way into 76 now because they put the pit in 76.
Atlantic City.
Atlantic City is in 76 now. They keep expanding and it's so cool.
I'd say 3 also, kind of compared to 4, has such a dour and oppressive like feel to it. Like it doesn't have a fun environment.
It's stark. It's very stark, and I think that is very much like based on like where they are too. Like when you really think about it, like it's based on like that region and that environment, and it's so. But that's what I love about it. It's like New Vegas has its own distinct style. Like 76 has that this is where they did a beautiful job from day one, and this is the one thing I will defend that game on, because it was broken. It was very broken. We still enjoyed the hell out of it, but it was broken as shit for a long time. But like they really captured Appalachia. Like they captured the vibe and the feel, and like the fact that they leaned into like cryptids like consistently. Like we were trying to explain to Doug last week, we're like, no dude, like you don't understand, like do you know how many cryptids are in this game? Like the Mothman is in there, the Grafton monster's in there,
Snallygaster.
Snallygaster's
in there. Like I was like, there's so many cryptids in this game. It's like such a deep part of it.
And if they're not the actual cryptids, they've been named after the cryptids.
Yeah, the Wendigo's in it too. Like the Wendigo's in it as well. There's a whole Wendigo event that goes on like multiple times a night. It's hilarious. Like, but that's I think it's interesting because like while each game does kind of have its own unique feel and like vibe, there is still like an underlying cultural design to the Fallout series that is consistent across the board.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. No, it totally does.
Yeah.
I would say too, like hearing you guys talk about that, because I've only played 76 and 1 and 2. 1 and 2 almost feel like 1 and 2 feel like a fantasy story in a post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah, I'd say that they more follow like kind of like the Joseph Campbell, like you're going on the hero's quest, like this is we got you to do this, and then
I believe the one guy's called the Chosen One. In fact,
yes, the second one you're the
because the first one you're the Vault Dweller, right?
Oh god,
yeah, the first one you're the Vault Dweller.
Yes, the Chosen One because you're the son of the
so.
and you've been selected to go on.
So it very much has kind of that old school like fantasy in a post-apocalyptic setting. Whereas, I do feel like from what I know of 3 and 4, or 3 in New Vegas and 76, they kind of went away from that a little bit more, and they just kind of went in a direction that was they kind of helped pave that a little bit rather than retreading, at least in the overall, I guess, vibe, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. Oh my God, I totally forgot about Sheep Squatch, Spike.
The Sheep Squatch,
which is a cryptid they went after on Mountain Monsters.
Oh my God.
They also went after the Snallygaster and the Grafton Monster. The Snallygaster they had to run because in their show, the Snallygasters, there was more than one, and they're fucking pterodactyls.
Whoa.
Get off this mountain.
So going back to your question about, the things about 3, I think the thing that was most, I think the thing that keeps bringing me back to 3 is wandering around Washington, D.C. The Capitol building, the Smithsonian. You can go in these places and they're, for video game setting, roughly correct in their locations.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they had to shrink things down a little bit, but it's for that time, that was pretty accurate to real world.
Yeah.
And that was impressive to me.
Yeah. Definitely. Like, yeah, it's their recreations of like real kind of stuff it's pretty on point for what they're doing.
Oh,
whoa.
The Sheep Squatch.
The sad part about that is that graphic is 100 times better than the graphic they use on Mountain Monsters, which are their PlayStation 1. All their stuff looks like PlayStation 1 graphics for their monsters.
I remember when they introduced the Sheep Squatch story. That was great.
I think we talked about this maybe last time, but has anyone here besides Colin? I think you've seen this. Have you seen Black Sheep?
Oh yeah, I own Black Sheep.
Yeah, Richard and Shane, you should watch Black Sheep.
It's a hoot. It's a really good time.
It's a hoot. It's a New Zealand.
If you like Shaun of the Dead, you'll like this. It's got
zombie.
Zombie.
And if you get bit by a zombie sheep, you start to become a sheep.
Wear sheep.
Wear sheep.
Wear sheep.
It's fucking wild. It is a fun, wild ass. I always tell people you need to see Black Sheep and you really need to see Housebound because they're both New Zealand flicks and Housebound is also a fucking hoot.
So I almost saw Black Sheep because it shares the same name as a SNL movie.
Yep.
Starring David Spade and Chris Farley. And I remember, asking Blockbuster Video if they had Black Sheep, and they said yes, and that was what they had.
That's a hell of a good blockbuster then. That movie was not a big hit at all. I mean, it was more of a niche horror movie.
Yeah. So back to Fallout.
But watch Housebound. It's real fucking good. You've seen it, right, Colin? I've had you watch
Housebound?
It. Yeah.
I don't know if I have. I'll watch it. I'll obviously watch it. Yeah.
It's real good. Also in that Shaun of the Dead feel, except for it's more about the basic premise is there's a really shitty young lady who gets arrested so much they put her on house arrest with her family. And there's something in the house. Is it a ghost? Is her next door neighbor a serial killer? Or is there something living in the walls? I don't know, but I'll tell you this, she ain't gonna fucking run away from it because she's gonna run towards it because it pisses her off.
Nice.
Yeah, she is a fucking thug. It's great. It's great to have a horror movie where the main protagonist is just like, oh, fuck that. That thing's, I'm going to punch the fuck out of that thing until it drops.
What was that really good siege movie? Was it You're Next?
Yeah, You're Next.
That was amazing. Like where she just totally takes charge.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, when you find out she lived in this her fucking survivalist camp growing up and she's not to be trifled with.
One of the funnest, most like, oh no endings to a movie, but you're just
like, yeah.
No.
A good oh no, but
yeah.
Hey, what are you gonna do?
No, nonetheless.
Yeah. So what about you, Shan? What for 3? What brings you back to 3?
Honestly, it's the first game that ever gave me true anxiety. And that's what did it for me. Is I remember creeping around the grocery store.
Oh, yeah.
And and they had the baby buggies with like the bombs in them. And I was terrified because it's a grocery store that was like full of super mutants and ghouls. I think feral ghouls. And you had to sneak around. And I'm not the most patient of gamers. What? Shut up.
I remember the interior of this so vividly too.
Yes. And it's the most stressful 20 minutes of gaming I've ever played. I was crying by the end of it. I was like white knuckled and sobbing, and I'm like, where's my character? I was like freaking out. But it was like the first game that ever did that to me. And that's kind of what like I was so scared to play because it just gave me anxiety, but I loved that feeling. And that was kind of like what cut my teeth. So like going back to it, I'm always like, oh yeah, this game freaked me out real good. Like this was my first foray into like real suspense, jump scare blowing me up ragdoll physics.
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh god, yeah.
I also think Fallout 3 is probably the first game I played where I realized how political games can be. Because there are a lot of themes in Fallout 3, racism is a very strong theme. I mean, if you look at what is it, Tenpenny Tower?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The Ghoul Tower. I mean, they hate the smooth skins and it's just there was a lot. I mean, and then you get the Enclave and the Brotherhood of Steel, and
And
there was a lot of politics.
The Brotherhood, they must be really good guys. They got the cool armor, and it's like,
no,
I don't want to hang out with these guys.
They're the Roman Catholic Church.
Literally.
And then it's like the Enclave are just the.
They're just the government.
They're awful. They're just awful.
Oh god, but yeah, oh man. And speaking to like anxiety, like just like thinking of the first time I encountered like a feral ghoul, like just the like real life like screaming like what the like what is like just this thing rushing at you, never seeing anything really like that, because like most zombie games up to that point, keeping it within like the zombie wheelhouse of what it looks like and everything, it's like shabbling things in like Resident Evil. And now to have like, what's that? It's the corpse over in the corner. Wait, why is it getting up? Why is it running at me like screaming? It's just like, nah.
That's something 76 did really well, was the feral ghouls, because they'll just be shambling around until they notice you, and then they just fucking book it right at you, and it's like 0 to 60.
They do a really
It's terrifying, honestly.
But I mean, that's the cool thing about it.
Like just the first time I remember, like I was in some decrepit building, obviously in Fallout 3, and like just like exploring around, and all of a sudden hearing like the rumbling of like the treads of like one of the robo brains, and it's like, what is that? And all of a sudden like death lasers choo choo choo, and my guy like bam. It's just like, what like what is this? It was like Fallout 3, for being a first time for experiencing the series, was phenomenal, because they did so much well.
So what about, do you all played 4, correct?
No.
You didn't play 4?
I haven't played it. I've watched playthroughs though.
Scorch Beast Queens. Oh yeah, dude.
And I also have never played New Vegas, and that's a crying shame. I own it and all the DLC. I just haven't given
it might be the best.
Yeah, and that's what I hear, but I hear it's only the best if you use certain mods.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know. I've never played a modded. I've always been on console.
To fix some gameplay issues.
There's there's some definite bugs, but they're so wonderful, and like it's like, I don't know, hitting the bugs in New Vegas, like still playing it on console. It's just like putting on like a nice worn out but warm sweater and a cold.
Bethesda. It's Bethesda. Those aren't bugs, they're features.
It's like, I know where I can jump on this certain rock that'll make the giant rad scorpion that tries to murder me within the first few levels make it sink under the sand, and then I can shoot at its tail. That's so quaint and lovely to me.
New Vegas is not Bethesda.
No, they are.
What was it?
Obsidian.
Yeah, Obsidian.
Oh, that's right.
That one out.
Yeah,
I think Obsidian is the one who did
Brotherhood.
No, I think they're the ones who did Planescape Torment.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, Obsidian they made a lot of really solid games with that like kind of top down view, if I remember right from back in the day.
So let's get into the show. What did you guys think of the show?
Oh,
Mwah.
Yeah, chef's kiss.
Yeah,
a hot take. I think it's the best video game.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Port.
Yeah,
to movie, to series, to
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Apologies to The Last of Us, but I think this tops it. And I know it maybe doesn't feel like it's as weighty as The Last of Us, but just in terms of really realizing everything about the game and putting it out there, they nailed it. They nailed the tone, they nailed the look, and the story was really engaging and good. And I loved every character we came upon, and it was I loved it. I've watched it. I'm like through my fourth watch through right now because I'm obsessed with it.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, rewatching it is very rewarding because there's things you notice where it's like one big thing, like the guy the really ghoulish doctory guy who regrows the foot. If you go back to the first episode when our one guy who escaped the Enclave, after his foot's been like just completely destroyed, the doctor's like, "Hey, I can regrow your foot. I can help you out." And they just totally walk past him. They're like, "Nah, this guy's a quack." And then later it's like, if they had just done that, boom, the whole show wouldn't have happened. But like, it's just layers. I'm loving it. But yeah, Shan, Gary. After we talk about the show, we should maybe, if we got time for it, talk about like some of our favorite like vault encounters, like the Gary vault. Like,
well, one thing I want to talk about after we talk about the show for a little bit is the horror of Fallout, and then I think we hit that.
Horror. Yeah,
because I want to kind of touch upon the horror in the show.
Mm-hmm.
So, Shannon, Richard, what do you guys think?
Jan?
I think it's the best video game to any kind of visual medium port that we've had. It's phenomenally well done. The visuals are outstanding. I think the set dressings are some of the best that's ever been done. The story was killer. They've done a really good job with. They didn't pull back on the goriness of the series, which made me very happy. Because Fallout's a gory video game series. It is bloody and gross and visceral and it's very tongue in cheek and funny at times.
Yeah.
But it's
like,
also gross.
I mean, there's the one perk you can take where everyone just explodes when you shoot them, and it's like you'll have eyeballs flying at you in slow motion, and you're just like, this is fantastic.
Yes. It is disgusting. And I love that they didn't cut that out. They made everything just as uncomfortable as it looks in the games. Stim packs do not look comfortable, and they look just as uncomfortable as they can look in the show. I think it's actually worse because you don't actually see it happening when you're playing the games. You just hear it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Richard?
For me, I think the best part about the show is they didn't give us everything.
Yeah, they
left
didn't.
Some for future seasons.
Yep.
We didn't get super mutants.
We didn't get a death claw.
We didn't get a death claw. We saw
a skull,
but we didn't get a live death claw.
And they didn't even really name the Enclave or what they're really up to.
They named the Enclave one time in the very first episode.
The Brotherhood was talking about it.
Yeah.
The Squires in training are talking about him, and they're like, I heard something about like the Enclave, and the one guy, as they're training, the guy's like, Enclave's not real. That's it. It's like a throwaway line, and they never mention the Enclave again the entire season. The first episode, it's a 5-second throwaway line. That's it. Yeah. And you better believe I caught it because, like, I love the Enclave as crappy as they are.
The fact that they didn't give us everything, they didn't try and cram too much into one season. Like, I think they knew this was going to be a hit, so they gambled with that. And I think it's paid off. Yeah. That said, I hated what the hell is his name? The
Michael
Brotherhood Squire. The Brotherhood Squire.
Was it Tiberius?
No.
No.
He pretended to be Knight Titus, but I can't remember his name offhand.
Maximilian.
Oh, Maximus? Are you talking about the little guy that was
Maximus?
I didn't like him, but
I don't like him.
I don't think you were supposed to.
Yeah, I thought I didn't like him at all, but then again, I think that was the show doing what it's supposed to do. You're not supposed to really side with the Brotherhood.
You're not supposed to side with anyone, I don't think, except for Ellie.
Yeah, I mean,
is it Ellie?
Lucy. Yeah. So I think they did a great job with that. Yeah, I kind of wish Michael Rappaport wasn't Knight Titus, but you know what? It felt good to see him die.
He's actually
in it for 2 seconds.
I thought he was kind of decent in that role, though. How like all of a sudden you see what when you see that armor, it's so intimidating, and then you just got this guy that's like, "Fuck you! You know what? You fucked this up. This is your fault. And when we get back, you're gonna get it so bad." And, like just this sniveling shit, and then like, which also is really cool because then we see Maximus, and this is what I really loved about his character is he gets this kind of dead-eyed, just completely cut off like psychopathic coldness to him, where you see like this kind of twitch happening behind the scenes, and it's just like
that's where I think for me, like seeing that character, I don't think we were supposed to like them because they were a complete sociopath.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
He's a sociopath learning to like make connections outside being basically a eternal soldier. Like being in an environment where you're beaten down to build up again just to kill.
Yeah, and all the trauma that he's gone through, like survived a nuke, like his whole family destroyed, and then like you're rescued by the Catholic Church.
Survived a nuke, Indiana Jones style.
To me, it felt very much like Din Djarin in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It was the same origin, basically. He's rescued by the Mandos from the B1s during the Clone Wars. I'm assuming during the Clone Wars as a child. And what's he do? He becomes a Mandalorian. He becomes a fanatical Mandalorian for a long time. Except for like he stops doing that based upon I find this kid and I'm a father figure and I love my kid. I think we're seeing that same ride for Maximus, but we don't have to like him on that ride. And that's what I like. The show never like made him likable. It didn't ever feel the need to. At any moment, I felt like Colin. I felt like you were saying that glazed look was going to come over his eyes, and he was just going to fucking murder.
Oh yeah, no, and I will say I did like him, but more liking him out of like, this is some person who's had a lot of trauma, and I would like to help themselves get better. But like, there's definitely a weird like I don't know how quick he is to like when we get to that later vault where, and I love how they have the shift where like he just they give him caviar and he gets to watch a waterfall. He's like, I'm set. This is amazing. And then like Lucy starts to distrust it, but then at the end she finds out like, their punishment is to give me all the supplies I need and to set me on my way, and kind of in a fond farewell. And then like Maximus is just like, I'm gonna rip everyone apart. It's just like...
Also their weird like sexual dynamic.
I love their attitude towards sex on the show. I think it's so wonderful.
And it feels very, again, like you said, Catholic Church. It feels...
No, we're not supposed to.
Yeah.
But no, his attitude is very Catholic Church. Like, sometimes, and I love how he's like acting like, this doesn't happen to me. The thing that most guys would be like, I get these big hard erections. Like, this happens to some other guys. They get these big hard things and their cocks explode, but not me, man. I'm cool. And she's just like, oh, okay, right? Like,
and she has almost like a scientific libertarian view on it.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and I think
you want to have sexual intercourse, and he's like, what?
I love like when she's at her wedding and she's like, "What's your sperm count?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Well, what? Like they should be checking this like every month. Like,
And
do you
that's
not
one
get
of those
regular physicals?"
That's one of those things that makes it so dystopian in a gleeful way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's also kind of it's I don't know if anyone else caught this, but like her and her cousin,
Yeah.
and I think they've had a relationship.
Yeah, no, they have.
Because I think
It's fun for fooling around, but you don't marry your cousin. Cassandra thought that was the funniest shit ever.
Yeah, the whole like, I cannot. This is not sustainable to fuck your cousin long term. You know this is not sustainable. We have to stop it. Like it was fine until now. Like that's just weird.
The ultimate pragmatist, really. I mean, that's the thing. Kind of look at it. You're, like, you're from a very pragmatic place, and you're the ultimate pragmaticist because of your position in that place. And now you are in the farthest reaches from that place.
Mm-hmm.
You also, one thing I realized about Fallout 2 that I think I see a lot of it, and I don't know if anyone, I think Colin, you've probably seen the movie, probably even read the book, Boy and His Dog.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
There's a lot of that in there too. The book being way different than the movie in a lot of cases, but the movie also, for the time period it came out, didn't pull a whole lot of punches.
Also has a very dark streak of humor.
Yeah, it's a very dark streak of humor.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of that DNA in it as well.
I think so. Yeah. Especially like just the aesthetically, like the kind of like pieced together ramshackle way of how everything's kind of collected and reused. A Boy and His Dog does that really well. That I think Fallout definitely was inspired by that. I'm positive they've had to have seen it, and then they just ran with it and made it really wonderful.
Same, like we said earlier, Mad Max as well, just because.
That, yeah.
So, Richard? Did I ask you what was your favorite part about the show?
Yeah. I was talking about how they didn't give us everything.
Oh.
They didn't try and do too much with it.
Well, that's one thing that I will say about Fallout that I actually like a lot is the world feels like it's lived in, and it feels like it's going on without you. Games in fictional worlds that do that, Star Wars is a good example of that, especially when you start looking at like the bigger world of Star Wars. You're like, oh, there was all this other shit going on the entire time. I don't have to just pay attention to people with the last name of Skywalker.
Yeah.
But Fallout 2, it's like every little area, every little corner has a story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, let's talk about the horror last. That leads me to, like, you guys want to talk about the different vaults. Let's talk about
horror too as well, because there's
I do think the vaults are more horrific than almost anything else.
The vaults are pretty much the darkest part of the entire Fallout saga, honestly.
For a post-apocalyptic world full of monsters and undead, basic undead, that the place that it should be the safest is the most horrific spot.
And easily, for me, the scariest part of the entire show, which I thought it was a chilling scene, was when they have all the different company reps at the end, and our pre-ghoul is listening into the meeting, and they are giddy when they're like, oh, we could have a vault that's low on resources, but it's overstuffed with people, and they have to figure it out. It's just like, that's so
absolutely terrifying.
I mean, the fact that they used it for science experiments and social experiments, because that's something that is not outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
It's something that absolutely happens. Like, let's be very real.
But I think even more frightening for me is like, oh, if the war won't come, we'll just make it come.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah,
we'll literally potentially end the human race because of money, or whatever it is they actually really want.
Control.
It doesn't feel like it's about money.
The largest market share of all time.
Oh no, it is definitely. I mean, that is definitely one of the themes is the horrors of capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, but less about like actual currency and more about, like you said, power.
Yeah. But yeah, so like Super Spike bringing up Vault 77, which is one man and a crate of puppets.
And a crate of puppets. That's my favorite. That's my favorite one.
That was done by the Penny Arcade guys. Yeah.
That's a darn good.
It's fucking dark though.
Oh,
it is.
Vault 68 and 69. Vault 68 was 1,000 inhabitants, but only one of them was a woman.
Yeah.
Vault 69, 1,000 inhabitants, and only one of them is a man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've heard those two before.
Oh yeah.
They mention them, but luckily they're not places you can visit. I don't.
Isn't
at least the
one that just has like a panther loose in it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, there is a panther vault. My personal favorite is what's the one where they had to continually it's like every year they had to elect an overseer.
Yes, I know what you're talking
overseer, but not to run. No, they ran things for a year, and then they were sacrificed
because they had to sacrifice somebody every year.
But then they find out like
when there's 7 of them left,
down to 7 of them. Yeah,
and they refuse, and the computer's like, "Good job, you've shown that mankind can work together."
Because they were
like,
supposed to
you cracked the code, you solved the vault
and then,
puzzle.
like, of those remaining 7, I believe 3 of them killed themselves.
You hear the gunshots, and then one guy lets out a sigh, and you get the idea that only one of them like walked out into the wasteland after that. Was just like, I don't even have the ability to kill myself right now. Like,
fucking wild. Like that shit's really, really dark.
Well, when you think about it, what's even darker about it is when you think about the fact that like Vault-Tec sold these vaults to the public as like this safe Donna Reed picturesque haven, right? Like we want our best and brightest. We want you. And like there were 122 of them, and only 19 of them were control vaults. 19. The rest of them had some kind of nefarious purpose. That's fucked up.
You know how I know they definitely watched A Boy and His Dog? It's because the inside of the vault where they're growing their little fields is a very much straight out of A Boy and His Dog. When they have that little wedding where they're getting ready for the wedding where they're going to marry off Don Johnson, and they're in that like everything's manufactured to look like the outside in the silo, and it's not. And it just feels so wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, it does a really good, the entirety of, about the whole entirety of like the aesthetic of the game just feels wrong. And I think that just kind of puts you on the back foot from the start of like, this, I don't like this feeling. BioShock does that a little bit too.
BioShock does that a lot. Yeah.
Where it gives you a veneer of like, oh no, this is like almost utopian. And then you get into it and you go, oh, this is definitively not.
Yeah, no, not at all.
I would also say Fallout relishes in body horror.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, the first villain is just the most
the master.
Yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you at all.
Speaking of Shoggoths.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that we didn't get a ton of directly, but I think we see a lot with the ghoul.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we get it with the ghoul. I mean, I would say
the nastiness of that foot going.
The foot replacement. Yeah.
Oh, the replacement scene that made me cringe.
I loved it.
The thing with the little like feet.
Yeah. I mean, that was some pretty good body horror. I mean, even just using the stim pack, I would kind of put into body horror. You know, stabbing
a
gigantic needle
in the stomach into an open wound, no less. Gross.
Yeah.
I think the whole idea of the ghouls, though, and the whole, if I don't do this, I degenerate, and then I become feral, and then it's over. There's no coming back from this. You know, and like you said, we didn't get into it in the show, but like super mutants is another example of, you know, even when we got to what was it?
If they bring centaurs in, that'll be wild because those are nightmare fuel. Those things.
I can't remember the vault they go to that used to be Shady Sands, but Like even then, just the mutations that were in that vault.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Where we see where the gulpers came from. That and just the gulpers getting the inside view. And all the finger. That was
the woman giving birth. That is one of the nastiest little bits of body horror. They do such a good job of showing it, but not lingering on it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, what? She gave birth to fish, and they start eating the just pans away.
That was nasty.
I mean, that's I mean, even for people who absolutely like horror is your jam, they do a good job of like pushing the button of horror.
Oh yeah,
like when you don't exactly suspect it, and they're like, just boop, boop, boop.
Yeah, and also like the horror they chose to showcase, like there's some, even as a guy, there's like something crazy like that just gets me in my guts, like seeing someone have to like birth something that's like completely foreign and like truly alien, and then like that, like it's just, I don't know, man. It's to me, it just.
It was squicky. It was very squicky.
Well, it's also like that's the element of body horror,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If we look at body horror like being a huge component of like, I can't think of much body horror prior to like David Cronenberg making it a big deal.
Forbidden axolotl.
I think that's what the genre actually called it, was the Forbidden Axolotl. Good call, Spike. I think like,
that's good.
Body horror between like Ridley Scott and H.R. Giger using it, as like using the alien as a metaphor for assault, sexual assault, and all that. But Cronenberg also, body horror, a lot of it also comes with heavy sexual element. A lot of those movies, and here you're seeing like the end result of that, and it is fucking horrifying. And that scene is less than 20 seconds.
It's a blip.
Yeah,
but it's one of those things that stick with you.
Yeah.
Oh god.
We didn't even get stuff like the gourmands, the cannibals.
Oh yeah, we haven't even seen them in like the mythos yet.
Yeah, there's
we did see. I can't remember what they called those two people on the bridge. That was also very funny to me.
Yeah.
What were they? Were they gourmands? Were they just like?
Yeah, they were gourmands, but they didn't really name them that. Okay. But yeah, they were cannibals.
Yeah,
they kill and eat you.
I think that's one thing that again, very much felt like The Road in a way in that spot, and I was like, oh yeah, that to me is one of the worst like whole cannibal things is in that movie, because it's just very cannibalism played up for like everyday survival.
Yeah.
So, fun fact, side story: did you know that cannibalism is only illegal in one state in the United States?
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Can you guess the state?
Wisconsin.
No.
Even at they're like, nah, roll with it.
Idaho.
I actually thought about saying Idaho.
Idaho is the only state in the United States where cannibalism is illegal.
I bet it's because cannibalism took place there. They're like, oh, we got to wrap this shit up.
Oh my god.
Colin's trying to process what I just said.
Don't break the host.
It's, I mean, when you think about it.
Here's how silly my mind is. I'm like, was it because of competition with the potato? I just can't think of it.
I mean, if you think about it, though, like their whole thing when they're between like something like it's like, I don't know, it just has a vibe like I said, like The Road or We Are What We Are, which I don't know.
Yeah,
which is also feels like something that could take place in Fallout. It really does. It feels like, oh, here's these anachronistic people,
or
they eat people, but they're very prim and proper and everything else, and they don't talk about it. You do this thing.
What was that one movie? It's a post-apocalyptic movie, came out within the last 6 years, I'd say. Jim Carrey's in it, Keanu Reeves. what's his face? Jason Momoa is in it, and he leads like a group of cannibals, and like they all dress like kind of like cholos from Miami and stuff like that. It's really yeah. Oh my god. It's a
that's a hell of a cast for a movie I've never heard of.
Yeah,
how have I never seen this?
Okay, I need to look.
If you find out what it is, yeah, let us know.
I'm looking. Yeah.
I mean,
human probably would pair well with potatoes.
Yeah, I mean, it's long pig.
Long pig.
That's what people say it tastes like. Who have actually consumed human being? It tastes like pig.
Yeah.
And some people say that's one reason that humanity domesticated pig, because otherwise they had a taste for each other. The Bad Batch, is that what it's called, Colin?
Yeah, I think that's I was like, but isn't that also
But that's a Star Wars show.
No, I think it's the Bad Batch. It's really awesome. It follows, it's pretty wild. It's fun.
I will have to look that one up because damn.
Yeah, that's wild.
Jim Carrey looks unrecognizable. He's this weird like desert dweller, like who's like covered in garbage. Keanu Reeves is like this playboy kind of. He's a little heavier in the film, and he's like hosting these wild like drug-fueled parties and stuff out in the post-apocalypse and stuff. And then like it's good. It's good stuff.
Holy shit, that is a hell of a cast. Diego Luna, Giovanni Ribisi.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's crazy.
It's from 2016. I've never heard of this movie.
I haven't either.
That's wild. Yeah, I'm going to have to look that one up.
It's good.
Colin, you have to put that down to eventually watch. Like, dude.
Yeah, Jason Momoa's character's named Miami Man.
Miami Man.
It's post-apocalyptic. It's post-apocalypse. I mean, maybe that kind of has the same feel as Fallout. I haven't seen it, so.
It's like, it really reminded me of Greg Araki movies, if you guys have ever seen any of those, like Doom Generation or oh gosh, I'm trying to think of some of the others, but like there's a very dreamlike quality to them, then impacted by really hard moments of like visceral either violence or just like what is this? It's good stuff. It's good stuff. I don't. It's really good. Trust me. I promise.
I trust you.
Okay. But yeah, no. The Bad Batch definitely worth your time. If you like something that's just a little outside the box, and has just a ton of originality and personality to it, with some really notable names. Like
that's a shocking cast, though. I mean, like really shocking.
It really is.
Yeah, and everyone's really playing against type. Like all those big names, like they're all doing stuff like that's, except for maybe Momoa because he's kind of like a tough guy in it. But like everyone else is just like, oh, this is so unlike. It's good. It's good.
Jason Momoa to me is the more fun version of Vin Diesel. If Vin Diesel had a sense of humor about himself and was just super fucking laid back, that's Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel's the guy who would annoy you in a conversation. Jason Momoa is the guy you'd be like, fuck yeah, dude. Or if anyone's seen Toast of London, Toast's obsession with John Hamm, and then when he gets to hang out with John Hamm, he's in love with John Hamm. That reminds me, Jason Momoa would be like John Hamm to Toast.
See, Jason Momoa to me will always be Ronin from
He's just
Stargate
from Stargate Atlantis. Yeah.
Speaking of Toast of London, Matt Berry.
Oh, fantastic! And what a highlight!
Fucking great thing I did not expect.
Yeah, him doing all the Codsworth voices.
Yeah, and when they're talking at that party, it's so good.
That exchange they have is really excellent writing, especially when he's talking about how the commodifying of everything and like, you know,
the Red Scare.
We got to sell a product and stuff like that. That's how we're going to continue, which you can kind of see maybe starting to happen a little bit with like how our entertainment is kind of transforming. I don't know. It was on point. It was really cool. Yeah. Really cool.
just wild, interesting things. I really enjoyed the horror of watching the ghoul's life unravel.
That was fascinating.
By that, the horror of that being like everything you know isn't real by the fact that the people you trust the most,
your spouse is evil,
is not a good fucking person. No. They're a good person to you because they love you, but they also,
will destroy your world.
Yeah, they'll wreck you.
Like literally, yeah, yeah, and I'm sure there's more juiciness to come from there because when we first meet the ghoul pre-ghoul, he's really struggling to make ends meet. He's not the actor he was anymore. He's doing children's birthday parties, and
but he has his daughter.
He has his daughter,
and bombs drop. So it makes me wonder, like, how did that all work? Did they lock him out of the vault?
Something had to, because he's asking.
Where's my daughter?
Where's my family at the end? Like, giving like the kind of intonation that like they're together, possibly the wife and the daughter, and then they just 86'd him. I'm guessing the wife did, because she's low down dirty. Like, wow.
And also just the overt racism, like you were talking about, Richard.
Oh yeah.
Like in that scene where the bomb drops, there's just straight up fucking.
Oh my god!
Racism. Yeah. Oh, we're buddies at this party, haha. Then just. Oh my god, that's horrible.
It's like it felt like a precursor because like one of the things that Fallout, the scariest part of Fallout to me, and the most realistic part of the series, is how insanely believable of a view it is into all of the facets of why humanity fucking sucks. Just all of the parts of humanity that are terrible and dreadful. And like it just like you see like everybody's holding up this facade through the entire lead up, and then the second those bombs fall, the worst of everything comes out and it never goes back to the same.
But that's the thing
never goes back.
That's fascinating in that retro futurism of the 50s is everyone always talks about how great the 50s were. They weren't fucking great, people. They were horrible. Yeah, and that is like the whitewashed 50s, but all of that shit is just simmering right beneath the veneer. And the moment push comes to shove, I mean, even the whole, Red Scare portion of it that we just see just the barest hint of. Did you guys learn about McCarthyism in high school? Because I certainly didn't until there was an issue where it was brought up, and then which was fucking straight up McCarthyism at my school, and there was a big to-do my senior year about it.
We've got McCarthyism happening today.
Yeah, man. What are you talking about? The U.S. is amazing, but we've never done anything wrong. That's what I was taught.
It's amazing, though, how that part of our history just gets pushed over there because it's an inconvenient truth. But then you see something like this that just exemplifies it.
I would say this speaks even more, not so much towards just general human nature, but really towards the American like attitudes towards things, like how we're all supposed to have, we're all community, but we're all supposed to also adhere strictly to rugged individualism because we're all gonna pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and all that bullshit. And we see what rugged individualism, what that is in play when society crumbles, and that is two neighbors who seemed like the best of friends, who were chit-chatting just mere minutes ago, boom, are now just knocking each other out. It's me versus you. Me, I'm going to fend for mine, and I'm going to make sure I win. Get the fuck out of my life. You're done. Like, and I feel like that is, if you boil us down to just the grist and stuff, I feel like that is a good portion of the country has that so hardwired into us that the moment it's gonna switch, if it ever does, is it's not gonna be let me help you. It's gonna be let me help you die quicker so I can get your stuff and get over and continue. And yeah, I think this show really highlights that, and the series itself highlights that in really clever ways.
So let me make a recommendation. If none of you have read this, The Golden Age I can't remember. James Robinson, I think, wrote it.
Is it the comic?
Yeah.
That's a good book.
Yes, it is the last gasp of the golden age of DC heroes, and it's all about McCarthyism. It's all about the HUAC committee calling the Justice Society in front of them and saying, take your masks off, and the Justice Society doing this, and just taking their masks off in private and never coming back. But it also has to do with the insidiousness of something going on in the background that brings them all together at the end, that basically beckons in the Silver Age. But it's dark because it is all about that kind of, like, we get the first inkling of, I think it's the first time in continuity they bring up the fact that Alan Scott might be a gay man.
Oh, really?
They bring up the fact that he owns this giant radio station in Gotham, and they're starting to call him a communist, and he's worried that he's not so much he'll lose his business, but he's worried about everyone who works for him. And he keeps pulling out his Green Lantern ring, and he's just like, I could end this anytime I wanted, but he just won't do it. We see a bunch about like some of the non-powered heroes that went in behind the lines in Germany because of the Spear of Destiny. They talk about the whole fact that some of the JSA went to Europe, and because Hitler had the Spear of Destiny, they don't have their powers in Europe, so they almost died. So some of the non-powered characters went in there to kill Nazis, and they were very good at it. But things go awry, and it kind of speeds into this weird, like, background conspiracy theory and the HUAC committee and McCarthyism and body horror. There's really some body horror in that story. It's beautifully illustrated. It's utterly fantastic. Also, there's an absolute amazing, because the main character is also a writer and a filmmaker, or is a retired superhero, and he realizes at the end, because of the ending of the whole story, no one's going to want that. They're not ready for it yet, even though it happened in public. They don't want to hear that. It's very interesting. It's very good. But yeah, if you like Fallout kind of thing, that's very much like kind of superhero-y Fallout. Also, you get the whole thing with Starman in the asylum. That Ted Knight Starman is in an asylum because he helped create the atomic bomb, and he can't live with the guilt. He literally can't live with the guilt that he helped kill all those people, because that is not what he intended to do. And it's really kind of sad to see like this hero be like, scraggly beard, chain smoking in an asylum because he's like can't work through the fact that he helped create the atom bomb. Yeah. If anyone wants to borrow, I have it. It's really good. All right. One last question. What was your favorite horror portion of the games and then of the TV show? Obligatory horror.
Obviously, the one thing the show was just that scene where they're talking about just how great it's going to be in the post-apocalypse when they're what we can do with all these experiments in the vaults. Not necessarily a single moment, but something I've really loved since Bethesda's taken stewardship is all of a sudden there's all this Lovecraftian Cthulhu stuff going on in the game, and it's wild. It's really I love that, and it seems to be growing more and more with each with new entry into the series. So I'm stoked about that. That's cool for me.
For me, I would say it's the way that Bethesda has done the radiation with everyday creatures, turning them into the monsters, the Snallygasters and, the feral ghouls. I think one of my favorites actually is the hermit crabs that instead of shells are using buses.
That is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That's super cool. I'm like really excited to see this.
Yeah, once we get far enough in 76, we'll take you to the mire, which was caused by one of the vault's Gex being blown up. And, it's wild, the creatures.
Oh God. I gotta think about this. Favorite. Okay, wait. So favorite
game and the show. We haven't done the show. We'll go back around for the show.
favorite like horror thing in the games and shows.
Just in the game first, then we'll go back around for the show.
Just in the game all around is I actually really like the Scorch Beast Queen fight in 76. I think it's super fun. She's brutal. It takes so much work and it is a group effort to get anything done. You really need to be at a specific level. You need to know what you're doing. You got to have everything well balanced. You have to launch a nuke. You have to like it's a whole process. It's like a multi-hour situation. Like it takes a good hour to gather everything, then like 30 minutes to 40 minutes to like launch everything. Then you get an hour to beat her ass, and it's brutal. And if you do not have everything kitted out, it is a hard fight. I love it. I die like a million times every time I get in there, but it's fun and I really love it. And I like the Scorch Beasts. I understand that they are just recycled Skyrim dragons. Whatever. They're still cool. Todd. Reckon.
I think for me in the game, I have to kind of echo what Richard said. I love the fact that there's cows with two heads, and you just like they're just food. They're just your
Brahmin.
The Brahmin are just like they're cows. But yeah, if you're like looking at that from the perspective of someone just kind of getting into that world in that game, you're like, that's wildly fucked up. But what you realize is like, no, this is life now, and it's treated like just life.
Wait until you meet Shelly Moo. Wait until you meet the wandering merchant in 76. There is a wandering super mutant merchant who is friendly, and he walks around with a Brahmin who has all of his wares, and the Brahmin's name is Chally Moo.
Aww.
And every time I see Chally Moo, I like it's the most wholesome thing in the whole game, and the mutant's adorable.
One thing I love about the Brahmin, to jump in, is it's that the two-headed Brahmin, they're so commonplace that if one is born with a singular head, it's seen as this weird, like, oh, is this a bad omen? What's going on here?
Yeah.
That was the other thing I would build off Colin's comment was like the cults. That there's such a throwback to like.
Oh, there's some. We didn't even talk about like the children of Adam.
Yeah.
The children of Adam.
They're fun.
The Mothman, the followers of Mothman in 76.
Yeah.
Oh, what about the show? What was your favorite horror element of the show?
I mean, it may not necessarily be classic horror, but the evils of capitalism.
I think that is, though, and I think it might be the most effectively scary thing in the entire show.
Yeah.
The fact that they could give a rat's ass about the rest of us as long as they get theirs.
Yeah. It was so chilling how because especially in that one scene, like they do a wonderful job of like they keep drawing a line and then they keep pushing it. Like, first, thank you so much.
Hi, Maeve.
Everyone says hi, Maeve. Hi. I think first, I think Walton Goggins' character is like, oh, okay, come on, bring him back. Tell him
bring it back.
Yeah, we'll let him go this far. And she's like, no, we can do this. We'll even, or maybe even it's the guy from Robco. He's like, how can you, like, he's like, this is all well and good. We'd love to make all this profit, but you can't. We can't guarantee this. And then so line drawn, and then like, oh no, we can because we're gonna actually drop this and make it's just like, oh, it's just all of like just the inhumanity of it all just for
and
profit.
Just the fact that through the show and the games, I mean, how many products can you name from the Fallout universe?
Sugar bombs, nuka.
Yeah, exactly.
Snack cakes.
Yeah.
Fancy lad snack cakes. Yum yum deviled eggs.
Yeah, that itself is a commentary on capitalism.
God, yeah. Red Rocket gas station, everybody. Oh God. Yeah, no, that's such a great point that like they did such a wonderful job of replicating that it's imprinted on you a little bit just from that world, those brands. They did such a good job with it. Oh yeah, wow, never thought about that.
Familiar yet different.
You know? Giddy up, Buttercups.
Giddy up, Buttercup.
I hate finding those though. They weigh so much. Oh my god.
But if you can, the Giddy Up Buttercup power armor, which is the most useless power armor in any of the games.
So stupid.
But you look so neat. You don't. It's the worst. But
what about you? What about you, Shan? What was your favorite like kind of horror element from the show?
From the show, honestly, I think my favorite horror element from the show was just the dehumanization of the ghouls. The whole bit in the market where they've got like all the prisoners locked in the freezer section, just like stuck with me. And the fact that like Lucy was trying to do the good thing and was trying to be well intentioned and was like, no, I said all of them. And they're like, but no, but they let them out, and it's like, no, you learned a lesson. Like, not everyone out here is going to be good. Like, you are learning some uncomfortable things, but it was gruesome because you got to see the humanity just leaving, and also watching how flippant character. Like, my favorite line in the entire show is like when she shoots the ghoul, and he just looks down and pulls out the drink, and he's like, now that is a very small drop in a very large bucket of drugs. I fell off the couch laughing. I was like, okay, all right, I'm in. This is great. But like just watching like the reliance on chems and watching the way that they got like even like the subtle things in fights, like watching like people take hits of chems and watching the effects that they have in those fights like real time, and then they'd slow it down so that you could almost see it like a VATS kicking in the fights without it explicitly being VATS. It was just so cool. You got to see the gore. Ugh, it's perfect. I can't wait for the next season.
Oh, and not necessarily horror, but just to play off just on what an amazing job they did with the ghouls and just everything about the ghouls. The one guy we meet who's in the midst of going feral.
Oh constantly saying his name, trying to hang on to that last piece of humanity.
Remember warm apple pie? And he's like, oh, apple pie, mom. Oh god, that legit
almost like barking noise that he makes.
Yeah.
That was my choice. Yeah, that was my choice for probably between that and when they first get the ghoul out of his grave.
That was fun.
Because I can't imagine being buried alive. Like that.
Oh, that is terrifying. And like
living been down shit there, out of me.
Would they say like 30 years at a time or so?
Yeah.
That like was like, oh god. Yeah, ass jerky, of course. Yeah, it's got its own horror element.
Ass jerky
guy.
Oh yeah, like they made ass jerky out of him. My brain has deleted that every time I've rewatched this show, and then I get there, I'm like,
ass jerky.
Huh? He's really he's eating that guy. Okay, but it's wonderful. Yeah, ghouls gotta eat.
So, Colin, 2 weeks. I know we talked about it. Do you still want to do the double of Savage Land and the Bay, or do you want?
Oh yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Okay, 2 weeks. Sure. We are going to talk about Savage Land and the Bay, which are both found footage flicks, sort of.
No, I'd say yeah, for sure.
The Bay has no real found footage. It's not the Bay. Savage Land has no real found footage. It just has pictures, which are fucking wild.
Yeah,
I believe
how much they do with so little is astounding in that movie, and how scary it is. Like,
let's see if the Bay is streaming anywhere.
It should be. I feel like that's kind of become like a perennial favorite with a lot of the streaming services.
I know Savage Land is on. I think it's on YouTube.
Did you see what Spike wrote though?
No, I'm looking this up real quick. What?
Brings me meaning to eating the booty like groceries.
Gross.
That's fair.
This is why we can't have nice things.
The may be something you have to pay for. I hope not.
Oh, I hope not.
I don't want to pay. Well,
I remember like just watching The Bay all the time on like Netflix.
It's on YouTube.
Not too long ago.
It's on YouTube.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. All right.
So The Bay and Savage Land. I have not seen either one. I'm very stoked to watch both of them because all I've seen is watch like Ryan Hollinger and a couple other people highly recommend it. And did like
I recently watched Savage Land like within the last 2 weeks or so. So that's really fresh.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about it. Yeah, we were gonna watch it, and we didn't.
It's been a while since I watched The Bay though, but that's really good. I feel like that's got a really decently named director behind it.
That I don't know. And then in a month, you want to do a watch along?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Nashi
We'll
Boys?
see. Yeah, might as well.
Or do you want to scour Tubi to see if there's something else?
So I think we should
go back. I think we should go back to Nashi, but that's just me. Although
I don't know if we get another Rabid Grannies.
Rabid Grannies was so much better than any fucking right to be. Some legitimately great weird camera shit in that movie I adored. Like I'd be down if Sweet Home is on Tubi. I've watched that in a while. And I don't know if you've seen that or not, but it's definitely a trip. All right. Shan, Richard, Colin, where can people find you?
I think you can find me probably this Sunday doing some prep school. I think Monday do we have Scum and Villainy Monday?
No. This Monday is Hidden Path.
Okay.
Well,
whenever Scum and Villainy happens, I'll be there.
Next month.
I can't Scum and Villainy this time. That's why I got moved.
Oh, okay. Well then good, because we need you there. Then Tuesdays, on weeks we're not doing Spoopy Boys, you can find me doing some Meng on Meng Action. I like to get great with I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I was gonna make it weird and sexual, but I like doing things with Lego and non-sexual. I'm gonna stop talking pretty soon because I just.
Are you doing tomorrow night, Fanging?
Oh yeah, Fanging tomorrow night.
Yeah, don't forget, version 1.0 is out now.
That's right. I need to update.
I just updated.
Okay.
So I should be good.
Yeah, no, I should do that tonight before I go to bed. Word.
Richard,
I'm done.
You can find me on many Fridays doing, bad at games, either, in the Wasteland or Fang Gang. You can find me first Monday of the month on Down in Outlands.
You should do New Vegas on the channel.
That would be cool, actually. I should do that. Like just only play that as my first experience. That would be really good.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. You can find me playing Scum and Villainy.
I love that picture. I'm unapologetically in love with that picture. The fact that it's black and white makes it even more Buffalo Bill.
It had to be tasteful.
Oh, it's something.
So that's what.
It's something. If you want to know what we're talking about, tune in on Tuesday because that picture will be present.
Yeah,
Same
if you want to
the
see
opening video,
me get embarrassed by the opening video and then by her background.
I love the video.
And also, I may start joining you for Meng on Meng.
Hell yeah!
I'm thinking I may actually pick up a Gundam model to build.
Ooh.
I've been debating getting into, picking up a Gunpla.
Do it.
It's super relaxing. We go for about an hour and we work on stuff and just bullshit around. Chat's always awesome. So
yeah, definitely more than welcome. Please join. It's a fun time. It's just chit chatting, crafting.
Chris Crafton. What about you, Shan? Where can people find you?
You can find me on all the socials at The Rainbow Beach, BEECH. You can also catch me here when we play Down in Outlands. You can catch me here when we play Scum and Villainy. You can sometimes catch me on Prep School. And then I might join for some Fang Gang tomorrow night. We'll see how I feel.
Oh. I kind of want to. I've been thinking about this of doing a Bad at Games series where I buy the NSFW games on Steam and just play them. Because there's so fucking many. If you go to Steam now, news and trending, it's just like porn game.
Oh yeah,
it's wild.
No,
Lust and Legends.
You know what I think should be bad at games once? You should play Dream Daddy.
I have Dream Daddy. It's great. I love Dream Daddy. I Love You, Colonel Sanders. I also have that. It's fucking awesome. But it's only awesome if you play with other people and you take turns doing voices.
Oh, My Raptor Boyfriend is pretty good too.
Oh my god, I was just gonna say My Raptor Boyfriend is hilarious.
Raptor Boyfriend is hilarious.
So good.
Maybe what was the game that the Grumps played, Shan? God damn it.
Oh, that was oh, what is it?
Bad
Ben.
Bad Ben.
I want to watch you guys play that on.
I want to get some people to play Death Road to Canada together, which is just it's a zombie game where you're driving to Canada and you just stop off and kill zombies. It's like super like weird pixelated art. It's really fucking fun. I have Dream Daddy Director's Cut. That's right. I sprang for the big time. I have another one too. I'm trying to find really quick that is another dating sim that Doug and Alyssa and I would play these together and then do the voices. I have Hatoful Boyfriend.
I'd love to play Doki Doki Literature Club with people
with someone who hasn't played it.
Idea.
I have no idea what that is.
Oh my god! Do not look it up because I may play that for you.
I have a game I've wanted to play for a while called Football Game, and it is a David Lynchian slice of life game set in the 80s.
These are words that didn't belong together, and that's fantastic.
Where you're getting together with your girlfriend after the big game for prom, but things don't go as you plan. That's all it says. And they just like, oh, it's a David Lynchian type thing. I was like, oh, I'm fucking in for this. I would like to play I Love You, Colonel Sanders again, because that game is fucking bonkers. It's a dating sim.
Girls in there?
Where young anime Colonel Sanders is your love interest. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of weird shit that I have that I'm like, I just got to find people to who want to do dumb shit online to play with.
Oh, I will always play dumb shit games.
Hell yeah.
I love dumb shit
so
games.
Yeah, I love Perfect Date. It's a cat dating simulator. I don't know why I have all these dating simulators that are just bizarre, but I think it's because Doug and I played them for a while pretty readily. That's what Doug and I get up to when we're not Mount Monstering. It's just playing dating simulator games together, I guess. Anyway, you can find me here tomorrow night, Fang Gang, for probably an hour to an hour and a half. Then Sunday for prep school. I think we'll probably be talking a little bit of Star Wars before Monday, although I have most of it written already. And then probably maybe a little bit of sorry, I'm getting distracted. A little bit maybe of trying to figure out how to finish up Mountain Monsters, because that was Doug's birthday game. Doug wants to play Mountain Monsters for his birthday. And I know that we just need to finish up the game to be able to play it. And then Monday is Hidden Path. If you like, I guess, weird playing it in the unknown regions where things have just gotten very cursy, and there's a lot of cursing last episode. And very hedonistic, and it's kind of been weird, almost fantasy-esque so far, then yeah, come hang out. It'll be fun. And then next Tuesday is Mang on Mang. I have some stuff to show off. I got some stuff I'm working on. I don't know what I'll be doing for faux show, but I'll do something. And then that's it next week. So yeah, come. Oh, Spike says Fortnite next Friday.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Oh, I don't think I'll be back in time. I might be. I don't know. I think I might actually be back in time.
I'm still could possibly can be convinced for this, but I'm not sure. We'll also see how my fucking vertigo is, because first person shit right now, even a little bit of third person, is a fucking nightmare. So thank you guys so much for watching. Super big thank you to Shane and Richard for coming, letting their expertise so we could talk about Fallout. As always, Colin, I'm hugging you from afar with my mind.
I'm hugging you with my mind as well. Can you feel it?
I'm scanning you.
Don't. No.
Have a good Friday, everybody. Survive the day. Get into that sweet, sweet nectar of the weekends.
Yeah.
We'll see you on Sunday. Hey,
Bye, everybody.